Hi, everyone. This is Jackie Cooper with Crypto Mom 2 Talk Show, and I want to welcome everyone back to this episode. And definitely please like and subscribe because we have many great shows that are about to drop. And I want to make sure that you stay in the loop for everything that we're talking about. Today, I actually have someone on that I've been having multiple conversations with just because he's an expert in the area of marketing as well as the blockchain and what businesses need. And we'll be chatting in just a quick second. For those that don't know about Crypto Mom 2, I just want to, again, welcome you and give a little bit of background about who I am and what I'm doing. So I started in the cryptocurrency blockchain area a few years ago. My background's actually law, and I'm also a special educator and also a mom. And I started the Crypto Mom 2 Talk show so that way I could journey and document what I was learning. And then I started meeting people all around the world, talking to them about NFTs, metaverses, altcoins, Bitcoin mining, everything. And I have just been blown away by the creativity in the space. I mean, there's so many new businesses that are emerging and large businesses that are developing blockchain teams and that are exploring this area because of the versatility and also the need for what the blockchain can provide, because it is a data source, a mechanism for privacy, a mechanism for invoicing and currency, and just so many other terms that just don't come to my mind right now. So with that, I want to welcome Dan. How are you doing today, Dan?
Good. I'm doing great.
So why don't you go ahead and fully introduce yourself and the business that that you created, and then we're going to go into a little bit about how you help both new businesses as well as already existing businesses.
For sure. Yeah. So I'm Dan Rodman. I'm the founder of Lionrise Marketing, and we're a digital marketing agency that's very full suite in a way with the different connections that I've built up. And we are specialized into crypto and blockchain based businesses. We kind of began a little bit mostly with helping NFT projects, so a lot of NFTs. And now we're looking into starting to scale with some of the blockchain business startups because, like you mentioned earlier, the opportunities right now in the space are just everywhere. And, they're going to need a lot of help with connecting and doing unique marketing methods to, like yourself being an educator, with really educating people at the same time, because the space has a lot of education to be had, because a lot of people are in the mindset of, oh, it's too complicated, I'm not dealing with it yet or whatnot. But the opportunities to get past that barrier and to get into it, are huge. We're really in like this internet phase, it's very similar, I feel like, to 19, I don't know, 98, 99. Not that I was very old then, but but basically that at that period of time, there was a lot of innovation, a lot of different, startups, and a lot of them failed, because basically any stock I remember, reading and looking into research wise that had .com, whatever, or was part of the internet as part of their company. Any startup that was part of the internet was just a massive hit. Investors were like, yeah, I'll put money into it. And it's somewhat similar right now in a way with blockchain technology. So, you definitely got to be a little bit wary, of course, with all these different companies that are getting started so quickly. But at the same time, the utility that some of them are offering and the way that the technology works to help them to just speed efficiencies, and it's just amazing. So I'm excited to be in the space. I'm excited to talk with all sorts of different people in the space and do what I do and help them, gain more followers, gain more people in their communities, gain just, more business in general, connections, etc., authority, credibility in the space as someone who is one of those businesses who are going to stand out. So that's what I'm all about, really. So yeah.
So why don't you go ahead and mention your website for those that are listening. If you don't have paper and pen, don't worry, because I'll be definitely including those links in the blog below along with my links. So I'll go ahead and mention your website.
Sure, it's just www.lionrisemarketing.com.
And how did you come up with the name of Lionrise Marketing?
Wow, I went through a lot of iterations, of different, names for an agency and for a business like this. And for me, the aspect of just being able to grow, I had a lot of names with growth in it, and I really, focused on taking something and letting it, rising, bringing it up and growing it, and the lion, is something that I find is very powerful and, leader, really good logo and really good branding name for me. I was kind of named after Daniel and the Lions too. And I just find it a really cool, motivational aspect. And then, there's a lot of good good morals behind it and whatnot. So we're all about being completely authentic, very, very transparent with whatever you ask and how things are going in the marketing space. That's sometimes rare to find someone completely transparent with how things work, and just to be completely honest, if something doesn't make sense for you, whatever, I'll completely let you know. So yeah, that's a little bit about how I kind of came up with it.
So I'm going to pop open the screen and we're going to be seeing, this is your website.
Yeah.
And so basically, it's like what you said, where digital meets and the strategies meet. And so you have a team of over 20 specialists that you are able to help with press, social media, social growth, the SEO, and then you have the website development, lead generation, and creative. So again, for those that are in this space and you decide that you want to actually have someone who's outside of your company, but that can help you navigate, I think having, an individual like yourself is really important, because we can't know it all. And so at some time, and especially if someone's passionate about a project, they're in the process of developing their white paper, developing the product that they're sharing out. And so this is a whole nother area that takes a lot of time. So what you mentioned NFTs, you mentioned the blockchain. Are there specific projects that you can think of that you've helped that will kind of give people an idea as to what you do?
Yeah, for sure. There's one recently that is a kind of exciting project on maybe not as much of a well-known blockchain, but it's definitely a growing one called the Elrond blockchain,
Mm-hmm.
and they're a group called Elrond NFT. And we did a couple of different press articles for them, got them at cryptonews.com, got them in Live Mint, and we kind of strategized a lot of social growth for their platforms before that. So, pushed them up to at least, 10,000 on Twitter, and then looked at leveraging the articles, right before their minting event, and to really help drive a lot more people into their Discord, a lot more people into their community. And one of the articles we did a bit of, of a unique strategy of trying, with the space being for NFT sets and NFT projects somewhat oversaturated, especially for the straight collectability type NFTs. You really got to be unique and have connections and have, get shout outs from larger people in order to kind of position yourself sometimes. So we structured that one article in Crypto News to talk mostly about the Elrond blockchain. And then we talked at the very end a little bit about their project that they had on there. And then they knew one person who was somewhat connected to the Elrond network, and we reached out to them. They're the actual blockchain itself, and we actually managed to get them to take that article and retweet it on their platform, which was awesome because they have 500,000 followers. So it was a bunch of visibility from their aspect, and to see support from the actual network itself for an NFT project built on their blockchain, it was pretty big deal. So the community and everything, everyone was really, really stoked about it. And it was just neat to be able to make that connection and to make that, thought process of like, well, wait a minute, what if we wrote mostly about them, provide value to them, give something to them for free in a way, a great press article. And in exchange, they just are able to share some of that, their viewership and everything with the project. It's really neat. They've got a reflection there. They got a project that's called Regal Eagles is the name of their NFT, and their marketplace that they're launching has a reflection. It's called like reflection-based NFT. So when you're holding the NFT, a lot of the royalties and any of the transaction going on with that marketplace, that entire marketplace with all the other different NFTs associated with it, a percentage of that royalty kind of comes back to you as the regal eagle holder. So really interesting aspect. And there's a lot of cool things you can do, of course, with staking and NFTs in general. So, that's just one example. Another thing that I do as well, which I think is important for people, is not necessarily just NFT projects and blockchain-based businesses like startups, but actual like personal branding, like for yourself as the entrepreneur, because the main thing is that you could start an NFT project, a blockchain business startup, or anything, right? And it's great to grow that business with followers. It's definitely important. But if you grow a business startup, I talked to an entrepreneur in San Francisco about this recently, and he's had 2 companies that he sold off, and he built these businesses up, and he was in the social media a good bit, as a face for the business and showing himself and showing the inner workings of these businesses. And he gained a lot of followers to that business page, and people, were interested in him in a way, because that's, he sold the business, and that's how he grew it a whole bunch. But then, the one was acquired by Google, and as a result, all that, the connections, the social media, everything is acquired, for that
Yeah.
business. It's part of the business. And he was left, with basically none of the followers that he built up. And he can't then go back and say, well, send me some of those, it doesn't work like that. So what we talked about, and what he completely understood, is that he needs to focus as well on your own brand, because your own brand is really important, because especially as an entrepreneur going like maybe from business to business, selling off a business, acquiring another business, etc. It's really important to, grow your own credibility, and you can post all sorts of things on your own, socials about the business and refer
Yeah.
people to the business. And I feel like that's a really good strategy a lot of time. I actually do that a lot with some of my own social media, which you can link as well. It's just Dan_Rodman. I do, I'm starting to do a lot more little reel videos on helping educate people and just bringing people to the space, and then also doing marketing tips for specific to crypto for different, blockchain based business stuff. So then, people can understand a little bit, okay, this guy, he's got some really cool points. Maybe we should, look further into seeing what he can do.
I totally understand that, because as an individual, Jackie Cooper, I have my hand in a lot of different things. And yet I'm also building the Crypto Mom 2 talk show, as well as other businesses. But you're right, it's you have to kind of look at yourself as one entity, the business as a separate entity, and then how do you blend that? And it doesn't mean that anything's disjointed. It's a communication flow. And just like, you have your blackboard near you, again, it's important as a business to kind of chart out how you want the media, the social media posts, the print media, there's the visual media, everything is so interconnected, and you got to see what's the message that you're sharing and what's the outcome that you want. So that way you can either gain the followers, to gain the profit, to give the education. Again, we all have different products or services. It's a question of figuring out, okay, which one do you want to do a call to action to? So when people come to you, how do you onboard them? What's the process?
So the typical process, because there's such a variety of different projects, different
Yeah,
business
for
startups,
sure.
and even different people that I talk to, there's no really one size fits all
Yeah.
for especially for this industry. So, being able to have a lot of different channels that I can kind of help with marketing, whether it's getting you in a press publication, whether it's driving social growth to Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and pushing followers through. We got like a network of influencers that we use, and some of them are in different niches. And so we'll actually categorize a targeted market strategy depending on, which specific area you're in. And then, looking at podcast tours as well, we can actually do things and help make a podcast pitch for you and
Mhm.
help pitch you onto some of the really large podcasts and whatnot. And then, if you do enough of those things, whether it's influencer campaigns, and then even digital ads, straight digital ads on Facebook, those are really tough a lot of time for people because, ad space on Facebook can be expensive. So we've got
Yeah.
a group that we work with that's very creative, and they're very strategized with how they nail down target market, which for me, I was talking a little bit about this, just recently with, there's almost always this two target markets for a lot of these businesses, because you have your market for, it's easy to target people in crypto. Those are easy keywords that people, like or follow, and you can get people who are in the crypto space to look at your project, and maybe they're already familiar then with Web3 and using a wallet. That's no big deal for them to get into an NFT project. But as you go into more utility-based NFTs, services connected to them and whatnot, maybe you've got a huge part of your market for those services that aren't familiar with Web3 yet, or aren't familiar with using a wallet. So in a way, you've then got to coach them a little bit more on the how. But what I think is almost honestly more important is to be able to market and coach the reasons why the blockchain technology is more efficient, is better for your business, for your NFT project, et cetera, and the major benefits that they can have by basically minting your NFT or getting your token on the blockchain. And if you communicate that why enough, strongly enough, they're going to figure out the how, because the how is really not that hard. If you just do a little bit of research and get into it, getting a MetaMask set up, is not that hard. I've actually got a funny story if you want. I was in Clubhouse, which is a social platform where you can go on stage in a way, and there's live rooms and you can speak, and people, you invite people on the stage, and it's basically like a live little show type thing. It's a really neat platform. But I was in a crypto-based NFT room, and there was, I don't know, maybe 40 or 50 people in the room, and it was all about NFTs, and the room had just started, and this guy hopped on, and he was like, man, I'm just so proud. I got my first NFT, and I'm an NFT holder. And we're like, oh, that's so awesome, man. Like, tell us a bit about it. And he was like, well, he just got out of jail. He's like, I just got out of jail, and I was walking down the street, and I saw the NFT store. It was a store that said the NFT store. And I walked in, and I talked to some guys in there, and they sold me this NFT for $300. And he's like, look, I got it with me right here. He's had a picture of it. And we were like, oh, that's great. We were all a little confused though. We asked him, so did you use like a digital wallet for that? Like, is there a connection between the painting and he's like, no, I just bought my card. And we were all confused a little bit. We're like, I don't think you have an NFT, man. And he was like, what? And he was like, I didn't really know. He was very confused, and he had no idea. And he basically kind of got scammed a bit. And
Even though I will interrupt for a second.
Sure.
That for that story, you're right. He sort of did get scammed, but for those that are listening that are not aware, there are some NFT platforms where you can actually get the virtual NFT and then a physical rendering of a different product or the same product. So again, that might be a whole nother conversation that Dan and I have in a different episode, but I just want to kind of put that out there for those that are new to the NFT world. You can get a physical representation. It's just that this gentleman started with the physical first. So go ahead.
Yeah, that's why we asked him. We were like, did you buy with your wallet? Is it connected to a digital one? That's what I was saying. We were asking him about that, because yeah, you totally can. And I think it's going to be, more and more soon, where there's going to be a tie pairing between certain NFTs and the physical aspect of it too. But anyway, the community was just awesome. We were all like, no one laughed at him. No one like made fun of him. Everyone was literally like, hey, like, let's set it up right now. And so we talked him through MetaMask, setting it up in about like 5 to 10 minutes. And then we sent there's two different people sent him NFTs. So he was actually then an NFT holder, which was awesome. And he went on the OpenSea, and then he saw them on his profile, and he was all excited about it.
Oh, nice.
All in the course of like 15 to 20 minutes. And like, I mean, it was beautiful. I mean, it was really like, it was really cool.
That's the one thing that I've loved about the community is everyone is mentoring others and somewhat giving back. and, learning together and supportive. And so that's a wonderful story. Just
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah, we definitely told him he needs to, be really careful with the security aspect. We sent him
Yeah.
information on that because while we were talking through the MetaMask thing, he was like, okay, so I see rain, umbrella, Spain. And we're like, whoa, 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 whoa. Be quiet. He was basically telling everyone,
Those
just
are
for the
the,
viewers, he was telling everyone the private key. When you
yeah,
set up a
you
MetaMask,
don't give those.
you write those words down and
And you keep them
you
safe.
basically hide them in two different locations that are completely secure. You don't store
Yeah.
them anywhere digitally. You don't write them
Yeah.
down in your phone notes.
You
You
don't.
don't.
And,
Yeah.
again, just as a plug for me, I did create the best 5-minute crypto wallet organizer, which is on Amazon for the very specific reason that you want to have a place. You really can't see it on the video, but you really want to have a safe place that's easily organized for both you as well as your family. Because being an attorney, I really feel it's important for family members to know what you're doing online. So if anything happens, they can assist you, or they can also access the inheritance that you've left them. So again, you're right. that was a great story.
Yeah.
I want to circle back to you though. I want to circle
Yes.
back to what you're doing and how people can reach you. So I want you to again give your website so people can reach back out to you.
Sure. And I'll tell you what, let me just quickly share that deck maybe, because it has a little more
Yeah.
specific
Yeah,
to
that would be a
what.
great idea. So one of the things that I know I was very interested in, and the reason why I invited Dan to come on is I know how important it is for every business to market and to get social media and to get support. I've seen that with myself as well. But it's also important to find someone that can brainstorm with you and really kind of decide the various strategies that you need. Now, one of the things that I didn't see on your platform, but that's okay, is the legal side. And that's my hat, So for those that are, having any questions about does your business fall into all the areas under the blockchain that it needs to because of all the legislation that's happening at the federal side or the state side? That's where I would say reach back out to me because I have access to a variety of attorneys who also can do a quick scan on your terms and conditions and other things that you might have on your website, or in terms of just confidentiality, or again, if you're using someone's art, trademark, copyright. There's a lot of different things that you might be doing within your NFT development or in your business where you might just need a legal eye to kind of look and say, yeah, you're okay, or maybe you should file this or do this. Again, that's part of the challenge when you are new and developing. You are really excited with the project and you don't want to have some of the other side kind of drop. But I'm looking right now, I'm really, for those that are on the audio, what I'm looking at is this really great board that talks about press, social growth, NFT development, paid media, SEO, lead generation, website development, podcast tours, digital ads, social growth. These are all areas that every business, no matter if you're new or old, you're dealing with. And to be honest, if you're in the business of doing the business, the areas that you listed are very time consuming. And that's why they need someone like yourself. So I'm going to let you kind of go ahead and explain a little bit more, because these are all, I'm especially intrigued with the NFT development side because I know how that can navigate with commercial use. And I'm really excited about that whole area.
Yeah, like to be honest, so like the NFT development, I've made connections, and partnerships with some developers through LinkedIn. I met a lot of them, and we've had some conversations back and forth. And so I've gotten an idea for like 5 or 6 different development teams now. So depending on what you're looking for, I can definitely work with them, even make an introduction, whatnot. And I may not even have to be a part of it, but I'd love to help consult with it, help formulate exactly what you need with them, because those guys they're very code based people, which is great because that's what you need. That's the most important part. If you're developing a smart contract, that there's no issues with the code. I highly recommend, if you do as a project get your code done somewhere, go get it like verified and authenticated in maybe even more than one location. And those services can be crazy expensive, but depending on the scale of your project, it's really important. As you know, on the legal side, the mistake in the code, it can be just a nightmare.
And
Yeah.
and that goes, and you just pointed out a whole nother reason why you also might need to have either an internal or an external lawyer on your team. Because if you're hiring someone, you want to make sure that you get what you develop and that you have protections, again. And the other thing that I will say, you do not need to have just one lawyer. Just like you have more than one doctor with specialty areas, you can have a lawyer, that is knowledgeable about general contract stuff, but you could also have a lawyer that's more knowledgeable about the NFT side or, the other areas. So feel free to kind of, with whoever you're networking with, ask for recommendations and then interview them and see if they fit you and fit what your vision is for your company, because it's your baby, you're developing it. So what do you do next after they decide on one of these areas?
Yeah, that's great advice. So basically, I run through all the different areas. We talk on the phone sometimes. I'll hop on a Zoom call and I'll run through something very similar to this, and I can go through it pretty high level, pretty quick, and
Yeah.
not get into too much of the detail. If you want to get into more details, you can reach out to me. I'd be happy to go into more details with some of it. But basically, I start to get an idea then on the call what they're kind of looking for, and I'll basically remake one of these pitch decks completely specified to what I think the areas that will help your business or your project or yourself best. And especially I'll take into account, certain areas. If you come to me and you're like, I'm just looking for press, I'll show you, what we can do with the press. So basically, I like to start a lot of time with a lot of people on the social media aspect. So social growth is a lot of what we do on Instagram, is where we mostly have been operating, but we go more into Twitter within the last few months. And now as well, within like about a month ago now, we're able to do TikTok growth as well. And so we've got this huge network of influencers that we're kind of connected into. And like I said, they're in different niches. And so we do two different types of growth. We do like an incentivized growth where basically the influencer network that we have will reach out to accounts or they'll post on their feeds basically, hey, follow this account because if you follow them, we'll enter you into this raffle to win this. So they're very incentivized to follow you because they'll win this. They're still possibly like in that space a little bit because that person that they're being suggested to from it is in that space as well. However, they're incentivized. And so they convert a lot more and you get a lot of followers really quickly. But they may not be as engaged. So we call that incentivized growth. And a lot of time we'll kickstart a campaign like that. If you're at 0 followers on Instagram, it's really hard to do like a targeted campaign, which I'll talk about in a second here, because you don't have any base credibility yet. Targeted campaign, we just tell people, hey, check these guys out. It's a suggestion, right? So if someone is suggested to go to your profile and they only see 100 followers, they're less incentivized to follow you because it's a numbers game in a way of credibility. You don't have a built up following. So that is why we do a little bit of incentivized first, and then we move it blended and then into targeted. So that way it's
I'm going to interrupt just for a quick second. For someone who is new to the social media area, I also want to mention, like you said, there's Instagram, there's TikTok, there's Twitter, there's Facebook, there's LinkedIn, there's a variety. So someone could have collectively a large following, but it might be split over all these platforms. And so it is important that you talk to Dan, because you might want to just hone in and focus on one platform based upon the demographics of that platform, because that might help you with your marketing. I know for me, I have over 20,000 connections, but if someone was to look at it on Twitter versus LinkedIn versus Facebook, they're going to see different numbers based upon what the differences are. So when you're in a business where you really have a certain clientele, it's really important to use someone like Dan, who has a very deep knowledge as to, okay, just focus on this because that's going to get you maybe more of the results that you want. So I just wanted to kind of mention, because there's so many platforms these days.
That is an amazing point. That's a great point, because yeah, I do that, with certain NFT sets that maybe have a little more utility aspect and a lot of a visual aspect. on Twitter, there's not as much visual content. It's more of a written based content. And you can demonstrate visuals easier on Instagram. It's a better platform for that. So artwork type utility, artwork type NFT sets. I highly suggest artwork stuff goes on Instagram. You can still do Twitter as well, but put more focus maybe into the Instagram. And then recently, like as you said, that I've added in, and the statistics on TikTok are really interesting. It's the demographic of TikTok has moved older and older and older every month, and more people now. It used to be a lot in the teenager space and whatnot, and just maybe music and dancing and stuff. But now the tips on there, the finance stuff on there, and the actual 50, I think the last statistic is it's almost 53% over the age of 30 now. So if you're looking at like as a whole, that demographic there, that it does exist there. So it's also the algorithm on TikTok is extremely organically based to promote content. So good content, gets more viewers quicker on TikTok right now than any other platform. If you're trying to grow completely organically, and not pay for any marketing, as much as I'd love you to pay me, as I said, I'm completely transparent. I would highly suggest just busting out content on TikTok as much as you can. And the organic growth you could have there, you can then transition people maybe from TikTok to Instagram, because the difficulty part about TikTok is you can't message people on that platform, at least not yet. But on Instagram, you can actually have a communication base. So you have that link on TikTok, whether it could be a link to a form for them to fill out, but it could be a link to your Instagram where you have that other platform built up, and then you can kind of start to convert people there. So yeah, social growth, man, it's important. There's all sorts of aspects of it, but
Yeah, for sure.
hand in hand with it then is like press. Press is, really important in a way, I believe, to go hand in hand sometimes with social growth, because you can leverage articles that you get published in on your social media. And then when people see that, they're like, whoa, they got this. And then you can drop it in your bio, which is really big for a lot of, entrepreneurs. You'll see featured in Forbes, and we can actually provide that service. We can get you in Forbes. We can get you in some of these massive publications. Albeit, I'll be completely honest, Forbes does take anywhere right now from 4 to 5 weeks to get in. They dropped about 40% of their contributors within the last 3 months. So, we worked through a lot of these issues. I've got a team that, they're very well connected, and there's all sorts of things going on in the industry with it. But, I said, message me for the full publication list. These are all the different publications we can get into. The orange highlighted ones are big publications in the crypto space. Newsbtc.com, Bitcoinist. One of the biggest ones for traffic, I think over 20 million views a month right now, is Bitcoin News. So, there's really big publications, that we can kind of get you in that can leverage a lot of eyes and a lot of credibility over to you. And I may get into it a little bit. Actually, it's right next to it actually here. As I mentioned, Forbes, Influenza, but verification. This is a big one for business startups, especially, and big NFT projects are going into this space now. Social media verification is really important because you can differentiate yourself from a fake fan account. So it helps with some aspects of the spam that we know is in the space. People making an account with the same name as you, one letter different. You can be differentiated by having a blue check mark, and it's honestly extremely valuable to have. And as a result, recently especially, it's been getting more and more expensive and getting more difficult to do. I wouldn't be surprised if it's just crazy more difficult to do within the next year and a half. But basically, it's a really sought after status credibility symbol. And how you get it and how we do it is basically we have to write at least 8 to 10 articles about you. We have to position you as an extremely authentic figure online. So that's what we do. We do all these different press articles combined into this package, and we have to structure and write them in a certain way. And then we have a connection in at the Facebook Insta team that we, send your profile info over to, and then they go through it, and then you get the verification. So, the process can be for some people as long as 5 months, but we guarantee this service. If you don't get verified within 6 months, we send all your money back for Instagram, except for some of the portion that's already published online with articles. So really cool, really, really important for business startups, and really, great for honestly business startups and way for investors too. They see that you're a verified profile on social media. it's just a whole nother level of credibility of a business, of a person, of a brand.
Very
So,
important, definitely very important. So we're going to be wrapping it up shortly. What do you think is the important takeaway for those that are listening to us, so that way they can kind of reflect on everything that you've been sharing, because we've covered an awful lot.
oh yeah, 100%. And like I said, there's other things on here too, but by all means, you can definitely reach out to me if you're curious this all, and I'll get into some of the other ones and go in more detail. I think the most important part, really, I would say about this space right now is really related to education, along with just innovation, education, and innovation, because just we're pushing the boundaries right now. There's so many businesses that haven't even been started yet that could
Yeah,
utilize blockchain.
yeah,
There's
I
so many
agree with
applications.
you.
So the space is just, getting so spread out in a way, with all these brand new, for the first time ever, businesses are starting. So it's going to become a bit of a cutthroat area soon, as there's going to be competition, because there's going to be businesses that they're the only one in the space. This business is the only blockchain based business in the space. And in order for them to succeed and not have a fast follower, a copycat in a way, build another platform that, is better than theirs or fixes their mistakes, they have to be so tuned in right now to be the first one in the space, and build up their business, build up their credibility, and in a way, innovate enough that they build a moat around their castle, I guess you could say, so that no other business can infiltrate and basically take their share away from them. And so they've got to get all the viewers, they got to get all the followers, they got to just grow massively. So that's what I really, want to do and want to help with a lot of these startups. So that's how.
I agree with you. It's really important to use someone like Dan for the social media and the positioning that, you as a new company or an existing company might need. And I agree with you about the education side. It's important on the education, both on the consumer, the customer of who's using that service, as well as on the business. Because again, going back to me as a lawyer, as well as an educator, I know what we're not educating or doing yet. Things are changing fast in the school systems. I know that universities right now are introducing certifications, they're introducing more blockchain. And those that are in the coding side probably have gotten into this first. Now there's more the blockchain business idea. And that's where, you are really critical. I think where my side comes in is on the law side, because I think that every business that goes into this, it's not like a traditional business. There are niches and there are nooks and there are crannies that lawyers who are in this space, and I know a number of them, and who are they're specialists in this area, because there's so many changes that are happening. So I really think that every business that is thinking about using you should also possibly think about hopping over on my side. Just have a business legal health check. Just like you have a social media health check, think of it as a legal health check, just to make sure you're clicking off all those boxes that you need to make sure that you don't have an accidental faux pas simply because you don't know what's going on in the space. And like you said, there's so much evolving. That's why it's really important to have external individuals who are experts in that area outside of your company come in and just help you navigate. So Dan, mention your company's website again, because I will have it in the block below, but for those that are on the audio, if they've grabbed a paper and pen, I'd love for them to reach back out to you.
Yeah, for sure. You can find my website's www.lionrisemarketing.com.
Yep.
And you can also, honestly, if you're on Instagram, social media stuff, it's just Dan_Rodman. You can hit me up on a DM there as well, and I can reach back to you there as well. You can also, on my website, you can click Let's Talk or Consult, and it will shoot me an email too. So either or, reach out. I'd be happy to help.
All right. Thank you so much, Dan, for being on. Everyone, remember, like and subscribe. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others. We're all one world and we're all interconnected. So have a great day and we'll talk soon. Thank you, everyone.